Welcome to Barn Banter, the podcast by Horse Illustrated. Each month, we bring guests to educate, entertain, or inspire you as you pursue the horsey lifestyle, plus an adoptable horse with a unique story. I'm Susan Friedland, an equestrian author, blogger, and speaker with a soft spot for off-track thoroughbreds. You can find me at my blog, saddleseekshorse.com, or on Facebook or Instagram at saddleseekshorse.
And I'm Holly Kakanis, editor-in-chief of Horse Illustrated and Young Rider magazines. You can find us at horseillustrated.com, youngrider.com, and Horse Illustrated and Young Rider on Instagram and Facebook.
Holly, I am so excited because our guest for the September issue is Alyssa Mathews. You may know her from YouTube, Discover the Horse. She's on a quest to ride every breed of horse in the world. And I met her recently and I rode with her. Do you want to hear about it?
Awesome. Yes, I do. And a little birdie told me it has something to do with Chincoteague ponies. Yes, I feel like we talk about them every episode. However, everybody loves Chincoteague. Yeah. So
all roads lead to Chincoteague. Okay.
But so you just came back, I guess. Let's see. So we're recording this at the end of August, about a month ago.
A month. Okay. It was exactly a month to the day from the 100th pony swim.
Oh.
Okay, so a lot of people who read Misty of Chincoteague probably remember there's a carnival during Pony Penny Week. So I was with Alyssa and some other friends. There were maybe 8 of us in a group, all adults, all total horse crazy women and one man who, sorry for him.
Poor guy.
So anyway, they have all these vintage rides at this carnival, and there's a carousel that has all white horses, and all of the horses look terribly mad, ears pinned back. Some of them have their teeth bared.
That's carousel horses. I feel like the art form of back in the day when they made all these things. I don't know why.
Rude horses. Mm-hmm. They probably all had undiagnosed ulcers and saddles that didn't fit.
And teeth that need floating.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so I have this friend. I may have mentioned her in the past. Her name is Margot. I met her on Chincoteague a few years back, and she is a hoot, and she goes after adventures, kind of like Alyssa. But anyway, so Margot asked us, you guys want to go on the merry-go-round? And of course, we all said yes. And there's a big sign that says, no adults or children only or something to that effect. And so we're kind of standing off to the side and we see Margot approach the man that is like the ticket taker for the ride. And they're chatting, and she's
kind of... What are you going to do, guy? What are you going to do?
Yeah, she's motioning to us, and then he's kind of nodding, and then she looks at us and is like, okay, let's go. So we all, get on the carousel and pick out the horses. And so Alyssa rode with me. She was a little bit ahead, and I don't know what it was, but it was one of the funniest experiences I've had. And I don't know if it's just because, when's the last time I rode on merry-go-round? I'm an adult and have been an adult for decades. But we just had this little kid joy, and I should post a video of it. But it was I'm kind of giggling and cackling. And
I don't understand why they wouldn't let adults come on this one, because I've ridden with my kid on them, and you have to at least stand there. But I always ride on the horse with him. Is it because it's an old fashioned-y one that can't hold up to grown-ups, or I don't know.
I don't know, but we did, and it was a blast. And good. So she is so cool, and I'm excited to talk to her because I think our listeners are going to love hearing about her epic adventures, trying to not only ride every breed of horse in the world, but really educate us on especially some of the more rare breeds and some of them that we want to preserve. And so it's going to be just an amazing episode. But in that vein, I have a question for you.
Okay.
What is a breed or breeds? What are some horses that you have not ridden that you would like to?
This is a great question. And first, I just want to tell you some breeds, because I feel like I've ridden kind of a lot for an average horse person. I've ridden thoroughbreds, Arabians, quarter horses, Appaloosas. I've ridden a Morgan. That was like one of my favorite horses ever. Saddlebreds, Tennessee walking horses, spotted saddle horses, a Belgian, Irish sport horses, all kinds of ponies. I'm not sure if any of them were like a specific breed. But yeah, so I feel like I've ridden a lot of breeds. But then when I think of the breeds that I haven't ridden, I'm like, well, I really haven't ridden very many at all. I mean, we're talking to Alyssa, who's ridden, 150 breeds. And some I've never heard of. And I was saying, we do Horse Illustrated breed profiles in every issue, and I haven't even heard of some of these breeds. So I was like writing them down to try to remember them for the future issues. But I'd say probably the top of my list. Well, now that I've seen your Chincoteague pony drill team article, I'm very obsessed. I would love to ride a Chincoteague pony. And you guys talk about that a little bit, which
we
I think
can make that happen. Well,
everyone's going to enjoy that. My friend had a Norwegian Fjord, but I did not ever ride it, so I feel like that would be a cool one. I've actually never ridden a Frisian, even though I've known quite a few of them, but they don't really appeal to me for some reason. They're pretty to look at, but I don't know. They just don't seem like my type of ride. Yeah. And then I've ridden some warm bloods, but those are always fun. I really am obsessed with halflingers because I feel like I want a smaller horse next time I have a horse, but they're there's
two halflingers at the farm, so you need to come visit me.
Yes, because I feel like they are athletic enough to jump, but also like chill enough to be like a kid or husband horse. So I'm kind of like really into halflingers, but I need to like actually try one. What else? I'm trying to think. So that's probably like the... Oh, you know what? Andalusian / Lusitano PRE. That is like way, way at the top of my list. Never tried one. So that would be cool. Like a Pasifino. I don't think it would be like the type of horse that I'd be into, but I would just like to sit on one and try it. I did ride an Icelandic. That was really fun. It was not in Iceland, though. It was in New Zealand, which is kind of funny. So, yeah, I feel like there's a lot I have left to try.
Well, you could ride the Clydesdales in Central California. I did that.
That's true. I don't think I've ever ridden a Clydesdale. So, yeah, my friend and I had actually talked about going on that ride. So
you should
maybe
do
I
it
need to do that.
Sure. I would love to ride a Percheron or Shire.
Like a big draft.
Yeah.
The biggest of the big.
Yeah.
The ground-shaking draft.
You know what else would be cool? Because it's kind of rare. Cleveland Bay.
We did a profile on them. They are really cool. Because the kids, for some reason, in Young Rider really wanted to know about Cleveland Bays. They're super rare, though. Super rare. I could barely even find pictures of them. But yeah, that sounds cool. I will say with draft horses, definitely not my ride because they're like very slow reaction time and their necks are so strong that they're hard to steer. And if they decide to like go off in a direction or speed of not your choosing, it's very hard to change their course in their mind.
I wouldn't like that since I'm such a thoroughbred girl.
The Belgian I worked with was for teaching kids vaulting at a horse camp that I was a counselor, and the vaulting coach had to go to a competition. So I stepped in and helped with that. And they are just very gentle and that speed that they go, and they're big for, doing the little tricks up on their back. They're super perfect for that. So I do love Belgians, but I don't know, riding drafts, I'm a galloping, jumping type of gal. So I like a little sportier.
Yeah, I get it. Okay. So, well, maybe we can do a ride. Maybe we can be like Alyssa mini-me's and try to find some of these breeds we mentioned and schedule a little ride ourselves.
I like it.
So I can hook you up with the Halflinger.
Okay.
Which, by the way, I've never ridden, but they are at my barn. But I'm tall. So
they're kind of rare, but I feel like they can be found, right? I mean, I was at a boarding barn, as you probably remember, my last horse with about 200 people, and they had a Pasifino, they had 5 Frisians, they had
a Halflinger,
they had a one of those ponies, a fell pony, which kind of looks like a pony Frisian. They basically have that black, thick hair and feathering. Very rare, a fell pony, but that's what it was. And so, yeah, they had crazy diversity of horses there, which was really cool.
You just need to go back and say, hey guys, remember me?
Can I ride your horse? Thanks.
Yeah, I'll write a story about it for the magazine. Your horse will be famous. Anyway, but we should probably get on to our show. And I'm really excited for our listeners to have a chance to get to know Alyssa Mathews. She lives in Colorado, and she's going to share with us the genesis of her project to discover the horse.
Yes, and I think she's living all of our dream of traveling and riding, and she's so cool and friendly. I know you guys are going to really enjoy this one. So here is Alyssa.
For special rates on Horse Illustrated and Young Rider magazine subscriptions just for our podcast listeners, visit horseillustrated.com/barn banter.
Alyssa, welcome to Barn Banter. I feel like I just saw you not too long ago on Shinkatee.
It was not that long ago at all. Thanks for having me.
Well, I am a fan of you, and I was watching some of your videos, and the question I really want to know, you were our first guest when Horse Illustrated started the podcast a handful of years ago, and I was not one of the co-hosts at the time, but I went back and listened to that episode, and the question I had based on that interview was, how did Alyssa get her start in horses? I know you mentioned you're not from a horsey family, but how did you learn how to ride? What was your first experience with them? And then I have a bunch of questions about where you're at now.
Awesome. Well, it's one of the fun things, the origin horse stories. I feel like for all of us equestrians, there's so many different stories that we have, but then there's also a lot of similar themes that I get to hear as I travel around the world meeting different horse people. So for me, it was one of those things that I was truly just horse obsessed from a young age. I would point out the window, seeing horses as we would go by them in the pastures. Neither of my parents were horsey people, but they were supportive in regards to seeing their child being really passionate about horses. And so we lived in northwestern Wisconsin. That's where I grew up. And my parents had a small kind of hobby farm, basically, but we didn't really have any animals. We had dogs and cats. And we were driving home one day, and I think I was around 5 years old. And at the local community center, there was a horse trailer and a couple of cowboys, and there were some horses out there. And so I was like, Mom, can we just like stop in? But I was very, very shy. I didn't really like to talk to people. I was always really nervous to make any phone calls or anything like that. And so we went up, and my mom went up to this cowboy, and she was like, my daughter really loves horses, and she's just wondering if she can say hi to your horse. And so this cowboy's name was Ralph, and he had an Appaloosa stallion named Rebel there, and it turns out that there was this group of friends that did this 3-day trail ride. They would ride from Barron, Wisconsin to Spooner, Wisconsin. So for any Wisconsin people, you might recognize those towns. They're pretty small. But there was a rodeo in Spooner, Wisconsin at the end that the cowboys would go to. So they'd ride their horses over the 3 days, and they'd camp out each night, and it was just a fun horse event. And so Ralph picked me up and put me on his horse Rebel, and he started talking with my mom and telling that they do this every year. And my mom said, well, my husband and I just got this farm with acreage, and we would love to host you guys, coming up if you want to stay at our place the next year that you do this. So that was the very start of a really, really cool friendship, lifelong friendship, actually, with Ralph the cowboy. And so we started getting to know him a little bit better. And he told my parents, I see your daughter's really loves horses. And if you guys would fence in some property, I have a lot of horses, and I would bring a horse over for her to have at your house. And so he ended up bringing over a mare, and she was in foal. And so I got to have the experience of just learning about what it's like to have horses, to be able to, to take care of a mare, watch her when she's, we slept out in the barn and got to wait for the baby to be born. And throughout this time, I was just falling more and more in love with horses. And we found a riding instructor that was in the community, and she kind of took me under her wing as well. So I started exchanging chores at home for being able to go and do riding lessons. And then when it came time for this mare to foal, we spent so many nights in the barn. We were doing foal checks all the time. And we actually got to watch the baby be born. And so I named him Pegasus, and Ralph came over a couple of days later, and he said, and I just remember he's a dairy farmer, and he picked me up and sat me on his knee, and he was like, how do you like this new foal? And I was like, oh my gosh, I love him. He's the cutest baby. And he's like, how would you like this to be your first horse?
What?
And so he gave me the baby.
Okay, Alyssa, I've heard so many horse origin stories, but never have I heard one like this. First ride on a stallion, friendly local wet Wisconsin cowboy who's also a dairyman who then gifts a foal. Was it an Appaloosa foal, Pegasus?
He was a quarter horse Appaloosa cross. He didn't have any spots,
okay.
but he was a little bit Appaloosa.
This is amazing. I love it.
Thank you.
Okay, so obviously you can't ride a foal. So you were taking the riding lessons from the local person, and then flash forward with Pegasus. Did you eventually ride Pegasus? And how did that work out?
So that was kind of the next step. So I was starting to learn how to ride with my incredible riding instructor, she really focused on teaching the joy of horses. So she just had some fun school horses that, different. She had some different breeds. She had a Tennessee Walker named Walker. And so I got to kind of learn really early on about the joy of working with horses, and to be able to laugh at yourself because you're learning, and to just kind of appreciate them for where they are. You have to ride the horse that you're riding right now, and horses can be different each time you ride them. And so as a kid, you have to learn, it's not always going to go your way. And so then with Pegasus, I have this baby who's my first horse. I want to do everything right. However, I don't know a lot at this time. I'm still learning. And so ended up doing probably everything more wrong than right. I wanted to make sure he wasn't scared of anything. And so we desensitized him and just started right away with groundwork. And he learned very quickly not to be afraid of anything. However, he also learned that, at this time, I was 7 years old, and he's learned that he's going to be much larger than a 7-year-old and much more powerful very quickly. So that kind of took me on another really cool journey of my horse world, where I really got interested in the training and the different training styles. So my mom got these VHS tapes for me that were from John Lyons, so the John Lyons Symposium, and then one time I actually got to go to one of his. He had a 2-day thing, and it was very expensive at the time, but my mom was like, "Oh, this will be really good." And so my mom and I went, and we got this little hotel room, and we went and actually got to meet John Lyons, and I accidentally knocked his hat off when I was getting a picture with him, or I was just mortified. But it was this really cool experience of learning about training and realizing that there are so many different training methods, but then also what started happening at this time. So I was trying to learn how to train Pegasus, but then the horse community in my area, it's funny because it's rural northwestern Wisconsin. You don't really think of this as being a huge horse community. However, there were people, because they saw I think the love that I had for horses, they started giving me these opportunities. So my riding instructor would let me work with more of her horses, and there was a local a local couple, Norwegian wood carvers. They have Norwegian fjord horses, and they said, if you want to come over and ride our horses, there's some 4-H shows. We can start to get you involved with some 4-H shows. And I started to see these different breeds that were being used, Missouri Foxtrotters, Canadians, Morgans, the fjord horses. And that kind of set me down this path. I'm so interested in the different training methods and the different styles of riding. But then when you start to see the breed stories that are behind each of these breeds, and then the passionate groups of people that are supporting, caring for, and using each of these horses in different ways. For me, it was just, I'm so grateful for the way I was able to be raised, because I was able to go and meet these different people and see these different breeds and really listen to what the horses were teaching me in each situation.
I love everything that you've just said. And what I love about it is, I think, at least for me, a lot of times equestrians get entrenched in their breed or their discipline, and they don't go, beyond that. And so, for example, I was at an event about a year ago, and someone was talking to me about Rugged Lark, the quarter horse, who I guess is a very famous horse and was really cool. And I just kind of looked blankly at the person, and then they were trying to explain, and I was like, oh my gosh, that sounds like an amazing horse. And so anyway, so let's flash forward a little bit, and we're going to talk about what you're doing now. But you're traveling the world, experiencing these different breed subcultures, riding every horse breed that exists. Where were you when this flicker of an idea, really grabbed you in a way that it's not just like, oh, that would be cool to do someday, but you're like, you know what? I'm going to really try this and give it a shot. And who was the first person you told?
So for me, it was, the concept has been kind of in the making for decades. When I was younger, I actually made horse trading cards that were inspired by the Herd Your Horses game that had their own trading cards with different breeds. And so I had my own cards that I actually designed up, and I wrote, I was just looking at them the other day, and it was funny because I had actually ridden some of the breeds now that I had designed in the past. But I wrote the name and, particular uses and something special about the breed, and these just little, these little, pieces of paper. So the concept of sharing the different breeds really has been just in my head for a long time. And then a couple of different things started kind of happening. So for me, working with horses and being around horses has been something that is never to be taken for granted. It's something that I had to work very hard from a young age to be able to figure out how I can afford. I started a horse advertising business when I was in my teens in order to help me be able to fund having the horses. And so it was, kind of in the makings as I went through my life. And in the back of my mind, I wanted to be able to highlight these horses, but how do you do that? And this was kind of before YouTube was really a thing, content creation, people didn't really understand could be an actual career. And so I had been talking about it just to friends and, going and riding different breeds and being like, it would be really cool to share this breed. But how do I do that other than just telling people about it when I'm, at a different horse location? So it was in 2017, I think it was early 2017, a friend of mine gave me a passion planner, which is kind of like a journal that's combined with a calendar, and it asks you these really fun questions. There's this roadmap that you fill out at the beginning that just kind of says if you could have anything or be anything or do anything with your life, what what would you do? And don't limit yourself. And you kind of get this time of, I think it's 5 minutes, the timer is set, and you get to just write these things. And so that's kind of where the first, like, the actual concept of the quest came in. The challenge of riding every breed, and kind of forming it into more of an idea where it's like, wait a minute, this is something that, I can personally try to accomplish. And it's also aligning very closely with my passion for sharing horses with other people. And so then was talking about this, and I had a friend that was a little more into cameras and everything than I was at the time, and he's like, it was a GoPro with a Karma grip, so it's like a stabilizer, and he's like, I have this camera, and you can borrow it, and why don't you just use it and see what happens? And so in the fall of 2017, my husband and I filmed the first 2 episodes. The first one was here in Colorado, actually, with an Appaloosa stallion about 2 hours away. And then the second one was part of our honeymoon. We actually went to Iceland, and we got to film in Iceland. And so I got home from that trip, and I started editing the videos, and at that time I was doing kind of a short breed video, so about the breed video that was a couple of minutes long, and then also a couple minute long video that was more about the quest and me trying to ride every breed. It was very, very basic to start with. The Icelandic episode, when I put it out on Facebook, I actually used my phone to record the audio, so looking back at it, it's one of those videos. Is
it still up?
It is still up.
You cringe when you watch it now?
Well, I love the visuals of it all, because, it's Iceland, and it was just a dream to be there. But it was, when you listen to it, you're like, man, she should have spent like $15 to get a different microphone,
I'm sure it's awesome. I haven't seen that one, but
it's hidden away, way back, hundreds of videos ago. But I put that video up on Facebook to start with, and I was like, you know what? I don't know how this is going to go. I don't really know how I'm even going to accomplish it, because when you look at the number of breeds around the world,
how many breeds are there?
So there's around 300 based on my research. However, because nobody has ever done this before, a big part of my job is actually digging in to see what breeds are in each country. Because if you look at breed books, I have a huge comprehensive breed book, and it will say, like a couple of years ago, I was looking in Turkey, and it's like there are 8 breeds in Turkey. And you actually, if you go to Turkey, you are not going to find any official breeds there, because there are no stud books or registries.
So it's like types of horses?
There are types of horses, right.
Okay.
So for me to be able to officially document each breed and count it as a quest ride, I need to be able to find the registry and the stud book to make sure that, I can prove what horse I'm riding.
So have you been to Turkey yet, or is this more of a long-term project because of the lack of stud books?
So I did end up going to Turkey. It's kind of a little side story into my life. So my husband and I both have travel jobs now. And so a lot of times if he is sent to a certain location, I will go with him and I'll edit during the week, and then we will film on the weekends. And so he was sent to a trip in Turkey. And so that's where I was like, well, I'll just look and see what breeds we have here and what I can get done. We did do some really fun riding in Turkey, but it was on the types of local horses.
That's amazing. So what was your day? You do this full time now, right?
I do now, yes.
So what was your day job before that?
So I was, for a long time, I was running my horse advertising business where I would help people buy and sell horses online. That was something that stayed with me a lot through my life. And then when I moved out to Colorado, I was helping people exercise horses and doing some riding lessons, just teaching people how to ride trails safely and that sort of thing. And then I was also running a dog sitting business. So I got to have a lot lot of wonderful dogs in my life. We live in a really cool place in the foothills west of Denver, and so it's just a beautiful place to go hiking with dogs and enjoy horses and that sort of thing.
So I have to know this. Have you ever had an awkward experience being in another culture around the horse thing? Maybe there was a language barrier or tack you didn't know how to use, or is there anything that you would be willing to share with us for like an embarrassing situation?
Oh, there have been a few. The first one that comes to mind, it's really amazing to be able to travel to these different cultures and the different countries, because each experience is so truly unique, and we get to kind of step beyond the tourist aspect of things. A lot of times we go to these countries and we joke, we're like, oh, that's a big fancy place that most tourists go to, like the Eiffel Tower. Recently, I was filming in France. We did not see the Eiffel Tower other than flying into Charles de Gaulle. But it was, let's see, embarrassing moment. One that is particularly embarrassing for me is that I use translation a lot, so Google Translate, in order to try and find out, information about horses, trying to find contacts, because even once I find the breed registry, I still have to find an actual example of the breed to ride. And it's not that common in other countries where we do, speak the same language. And so I was trying to find a breed in South Korea, and I was sending out all of these messages and using Google Translate to write it. And I'm not getting any responses. And I'm like, oh man, I'm really running out of time. What am I doing? And what am I doing wrong? Like, I know there's these horses here. And so I finally got a response from somebody, and they were laughing in the message. And they said, well, because I asked them, if they had this horse available to ride, and they wrote back to me, and they're like, sorry, we don't have any rare roosters available, but we do have horses. So I had sent out probably 20 different emails to different breeders asking, apparently, if I could ride their rare rooster.
So they spam.
They probably, yeah, absolutely. They're like, oh, I am not going to respond to this at all. This weird person, like, what are they even talking about? So,
wow. So now on your riding adventures, have you ever met a horse that you were about to ride and you just instantly fell in love and were like, oh my gosh, if I could, I would take this one home with me? Like, was there any horse that just totally endeared themselves? You can't say all of them. But
I do have a very bad problem of falling in love with all of the horses. However, certain ones during the ride or during the experience that we have will just be special in certain ways. So I have so many different experiences there where it's like, yes, I would love to just absolutely bring this horse home.
Have you ever had any where you're like, oh, I'm glad I don't own this one? You don't have to tell us which breed, but
I have had horses where I think they probably wouldn't fit into the lifestyle that I have here in regards to the horses that I want to ride.
That's a very diplomatic way to say that you met some horses that were kind of maybe jerks.
It's interesting because each horse, back to the training example, each horse has a different upbringing, a different level of training, different expectations that are set for what they're doing. So I only get to, sometimes meet one breed example. So I would love to really dig in sometimes and be like, okay, what's another example in the breed that's being used for this or that. But in regards to your question of a particular horse that just like stands out, and one that I would have, if he had said this horse could go home, I think I would have figured out how to bring him home. So this is at the Alta Real stud farm in Portugal. And it's an incredible place and just full of history. It's open to the public for people to go. So anyone that's visiting Portugal, if you just want to go and see like 100 Lusitano mares and foals, and then also really cool Soraya horses. So while I was there, I got to ride the two breeds, and the Soraya stallion, his name is Negus, and he was so interesting to me. So the Soraya is it's a primitive horse. They are, they're done with, so grilla coloring with the dorsal stripes, zebra markings, very primitive looking. They are kept mostly out in the herd in these large pastures, and they have this element of wildness about them still. And so when I first met Negus in the arena, it was so interesting because he was like, he would kind of like jerk his head away, like as I put my hand up to pet him. And he was very much like, who are you? What are you doing? And he was very businesslike. So he behaved very well, but he was not interested in interacting with me right away. And I found it so fascinating because during my ride, I just felt this incredible, like, building of a relationship with him, where I went from this person that he was just not even interested in interacting with, to I could feel him just through the reins. And as we were going, like, he just started relaxing in this really cool way. And then he started connecting with me in this, just as a horse rider, you guys probably understand that feeling where you're just like, I'm sinking into being in sync with this horse.
Like you're almost thinking the aid and they're responding.
Yes.
It's so slight and like, just, yeah, it's magic, really.
It is magical. Absolutely. And so that experience with him, and then I did my ride, and then I got off, and he and I just kind of stood next to each other for a little while. And you can see a bit of this in the video that I put out. But you could just see him thinking through the process of being connected to me. And he just had this really interesting feeling about him, to the point of like, when they tried to lead him away, he like put his head closer to me, and then I took the reins and we walked away, and he just like got right in step next to me and was going down this beautiful historic hallway of stalls. And that was one of those moments that is just, it's very crystal clear in regards to special moments of the quest, where I would have never thought that I would have this experience with this horse all the way across the world. But, that's what these horses are willing to offer to us. And this is an endangered breed that wouldn't even be around if it wasn't for the really passionate group of people, working to make sure that those bloodlines still exist.
Okay, 2 requests. Can you please send us a link? So I think our listeners are definitely going to want to watch your video with that particular stallion.
Absolutely.
And also, if you have those horse trading cards you made when you were little, if you could take a picture, we'd love to put those in the show notes. Speaking, you touched on the endangered breed thing, and I am curious, are there any other endangered breeds, or maybe one in particular you would like to highlight and mention here so that our listeners are aware? And maybe it's a breed you haven't had a chance yet to interact with, but just so we can try to raise the awareness a bit.
Oh, that is a great question.
While you're thinking about that, we'll let Holly have a chance to speak here. She's been a little quiet, I know.
So I have a couple questions. First one I was thinking about was, so how many breeds down, how many left to go-ish, if you have been keeping a running total? And also, what's like at the top of your next wish list? Maybe the next like top 3 that you just really are excited to go do.
Absolutely. So, wish list wise, I just got I just got back. So this year has been very, very epic. To answer your first question, 150 breeds. The Chincoteague pony was my 150th breed that I just filmed recently. And with approximately 300, there's still a lot of research I need to do in certain countries, really nailing down the numbers. However, it's looking like I'm approximately halfway there. And then, so this year has been super, super busy. I filmed in Italy, France, Belgium, South Africa, and also in Virginia this year. So one of my big wish list items that I actually just accomplished this year was riding on a riding safari in South Africa. And
nice.
That was just an epic experience all around. I mean, going to South Africa and being able to meet the native breeds there, and then being able to also see a rhino from horseback, and to have the horse be like, I have this video where I just was using my phone and I just actually dropped my reins and I did this like through the ears shot, because my horse was so calm, and there's a rhino standing, right in front of us. But the horses there, so I rode at Ant Africa Safaris, and they have this lodge called Ant's Nest, and the horses there are actually kept out with all of the wild animals. And so you do your ride during the day, you ride through and you get to see giraffe and zebras and the rhinos and just all these different types of safari animals. And then at the end of your ride, you get off your horse, you pull your saddle, and they've got this vehicle that picks you up. So you throw the saddle in the truck, and then you leave your horse, and your horse just hangs out wherever it wants to the rest of the day, and then heads back to the farm. So they make their way back whenever they want to, and then get fed in the morning when they're saddling up horses again.
Are there lions? I need to know, because I was just reading my son a book about Africa, and I'm like, this is on my bucket list. This is where I want to go more than anywhere else. I want to go see the safari animals, especially from horseback. So you're just like living my dream. So yeah, did they have lions out there where the horses are?
So at this place, at Ant's Nest, they do not have lions there, and they do not have elephants. For some people, that would be, they would want to see those, and so they actually do a Big 5 game drive where you can go and actually see those animals. However, what it means at Ant's Nest is you get this you get this feeling of peacefulness with the animals, because you can feel quite safe in being out there amongst them. And we didn't have to have anybody with an armed guard or anything with us during our rides. And so they really offer this experience where you're just out in the wilderness and just able to observe the animals while they're out there. But with the horses as well, you don't have to worry about anything scary. You just get to enjoy the really fun rides.
Oh, that's
I would maybe try that with you. Holly, are you game? But yesterday, my horse lost his mind. There's new neighbors at the farm next door, and they have cows. Can you believe it? And my horse lost his mind to the point where I'm like you said earlier, ride the horse you have that day or in that moment. And I was like, today's probably a good day to go inside the indoor arena and not deal with that, because I'm kind of rehabbing him, and I had to get in 10 minutes of trot, and he just was a giraffe himself. And not really wanting to move forward. It makes me
feel better. I'm leasing a trail horse, so we're on a trail ride yesterday. We're cantering along, and she's afraid of, it's always plants, like a tree stump, a leaf that looks weird. It's not the flapping tarps and the plastic bags, because, we're around a lot of houses and freeways and stuff. But so we're just galloping along, and she just screeches to a halt. I don't know what she's looking at. I can't even tell what she's spooking at, but yep, not a rhino, that's for sure.
Alyssa, have you thought about, or maybe have you led a tour? Have you gone to one of your destinations and you're like, this is amazing, I'm going to go back with some friends like Susan and Holly and whoever else? Do you do that kind of thing?
I have not yet. So I've been able to join in on some really, really incredible riding tours. We did a 6-day riding trek in Iceland with Eastland's Hestar. We did an 8-day backcountry pack trip in Patagonia with Asuncia
Don't invite me to that one, please. I don't want to camp.
It was quite amazing for camping, and there was actually an option so you can stay at their off-grid lodge, which feels more like a castle.
Okay, maybe invite me.
Yeah, so that one has hot showers and toilets and actual beds and all that. And you didn't have to do the pack trip portion if you didn't want to. That included sleeping on horse saddle blankets and in tents. But we did sleep out under the stars one night, and let me tell you, out in that like remote wilderness, looking up at the stars and then hearing the horses like munching on the grass next to you. That is, if you're going to camp, like that is the time to do it for sure.
Okay. Oh, and I still need to know what's at the top of your wish list of what you haven't written.
We want our readers to help you source these amazing breeds and rides. Readers of the magazine, Horse Illustrated, and listeners of Barn Banter.
So I always love, in regards to readers and listeners and equestrian enthusiasts, I love getting suggestions. That's been a huge part of, suggestions and invitations. That is really how this whole project has been able to become what it is today. So I always love hearing any ideas, whether it's a breed suggestion or like, hey, this particular horse would be really cool, or this particular ride, or this breeder is doing great work for the breed. I always love hearing those sorts of things. I get a lot of common requests. So one of my, I would say, wish list items and that aligns with common request is heading over to Mongolia to ride the Mongolian horse.
I was going to ask if you've done that one. Yeah.
I would love to do the Mongol Derby. The entry fee is quite expensive, and so for me, all of my money goes towards actually, making sure I can continue the quest and keep getting these videos out to people. So I haven't been able to designate that amount of money towards doing something like the Mongol Derby. However, I love what they're doing, and oh gosh, it's such an adventure watching everybody do those rides.
Maybe you could get a sponsor.
That could be really fun.
We'll talk about this after the episode.
I think it's like $30,000 or something crazy.
Oh my gosh.
No, that's why people raise money for like years before they go. So
yeah. I didn't know that. Okay, well, before we wind down, and Alyssa, I feel like I could just talk to you all day, and so I think you need to come back on the show after you've had some more fun adventures. But tell us a little bit about your Chincoteague pony experience. So Holly, Alyssa, and I were together on Chincoteague for the 100th swim, so that's how we met. And I was at the pony farm of the Chincoteague Pony Drill Team article just recently in Young Rider, and I had to leave. So Alyssa was about to hop on one of the ponies, and I had to leave. So I don't even know how it went.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and I was so obsessed with that Drill Team article. I want to ride one now too. So tell us everything.
They are such amazing ponies. It's really cool. I'm so happy to have finally documented them. That video will be coming out. It's probably still going to be a few months in regards to editing backlog. But they're such an incredible breed, and the story behind them, or should I say many, many, many stories behind them, it's just so incredible to have been able to be a part of the 100-year pony swim and to see that, to actually be, standing in the water, watching the horses make that swim and know just how much history has gone into that. And what I really loved about being there for that moment too was listening to the people talking around me, saying stories about, I remember when I came here with my grandma and, oh, this is my 8th year doing this. And I read the books back when I was little. And I posted a couple of shorts on my YouTube channel and on Facebook. And I've been getting a lot of comments just telling me, their story and their connection with the Misty books and with Margaret Henry. And it's just so cool to really be able to see that firsthand. I love it because I get to travel internationally so often, but this story to me really hit home because it's in my home country, you know, and it's this just beloved pony that really has done so many cool things. So I rode Misty's Morning Glory, and she's a Misty descendant. And also when I was with Rebecca Hart in Minnesota, she's the president of the International Chincoteague Pony Association and Registry, and she let me ride her horse Pixie. So I've got 2 Chincoteague ponies I got to try, and just such fun little ponies. They're like, I feel like they're the pony that you could pretty much do anything with. You know, they're just kind of there for you and willing to do anything. I think it was at the open house day. I think it was, I mean, it felt like 100 degrees. I don't know if it was. It was probably 96.
It felt like it. It was not 100 degrees. It just felt like it.
It was very, very humid coming from Colorado. You know, I grew up in Wisconsin, so you'd think I would be used to humidity, but
it's been a while.
Yeah, it was very, very humid. And yet Glory was like, she was so willing. And they were like, hey, would you like to try a little jump? And she just popped over that jump like it was nothing. And so I'm so excited to put that episode together. It's going to be really fun. And yeah, just a really cool thing for them to be breed number 150 as well.
Alyssa, thank you for your time. Are there any lasting comments or thoughts you wish to share with us other than where people can find you and connect?
Yeah, I think to follow up on your question from earlier in regards to different endangered breeds to highlight, that is a really fun thing about the project. If you watch the videos, you're probably going to find a lot of different breeds that you didn't know existed. And so I didn't realize how many endangered horse breeds there were out there. And when you start to dig into these stories, it is just these special stories and these special horses that we absolutely do not want to disappear. We do not want to lose them. I mean, just some of them off the top of my head here. We have the Irish Draft, which is a rare and incredible breed. We have the Exmoor Pony, which is still isolated to Exmoor National Park. And you can go out and ride an Exmoor pony and actually see their descendants, their relatives out on the national park. We have the Bosnian mountain horse. We have the Timor pony. We have the Kisouma in Japan, which is the original samurai horse. Some of these breeds, just recently in France, the Boulonier, the Breton, they are so rare that we need to make sure that people know about them and that people are using them. So I would just encourage people to do a little digging and to find a breed you haven't heard of before, and always reach out to me if you want some suggestions for unique ones to meet or learn about. So yeah.
And where can people reach out to you and follow you and keep up with your goings on?
So the videos are all available on YouTube. So it's Discover the Horse, and just look that up on YouTube and you'll be able to find all of the Quest episodes there. And then I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And then if you just want to go to a website to see everything instead, you can go to discoverthehorse.com.
Thank you. This was amazing.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us and your time today. And we hope everyone will check out those episodes. I know that is right where I'm going to see some of my favorite breeds and hopefully discover some new ones that I don't know that much about. Even though we do a breed profile every issue of Horse Illustrated, I think it might give me some ideas for upcoming ones. So
future columns.
Yeah,
absolutely. And I think you ladies do need to join me for a horse ride. Maybe we should all film a breed together.
Absolutely.
That would be amazing.
Yep.
Just no camping.
No camping. That's okay.
I don't mind camping, although I haven't done it since college, so it might be a little different now that I've been sleeping in a bed for a few decades. But
we'll figure something perfect out. It's okay.
All right. Sounds good.
Thanks, Alyssa.
Thanks so much for having me.
And joining us today to talk about our adoptable horse of the month is Allison Anderson. She is a volunteer with Horse and Hound Rescue, does a little bit of everything, some social media, some adoption profiles. She just came from the barn, and we love to hear all about volunteering, so we can touch on that at the end. But today we are talking about our friend Dawson, and as a person of a certain age, it just makes me think of Dawson's Creek, but it's actually Dawson City, and he is a 5-year-old thoroughbred gelding. And do you know, did he come off the track? Is this his jockey club name? Just tell us all about him.
Yes. So Dawson City, that's his jockey club name. He's 5 years old. Like you said, he's off the track thoroughbred. Our rescue is a little bit special in the fact that all of our horses are straight off the track. So they're coming from our local track with Remington Park in Oklahoma City, or up in Tulsa and at the Claremore Will Rogers racetrack. But Dawson City has a pretty cool story. He actually raced down at Sam Houston and Lone Star. He's actually was bred in New York, so that's kind of cool if you look up his equibase. He raced, I think, 8 times, so he did pretty well. Nothing crazy, no Kentucky Derbies or anything, but that's why he came to the rescue, of course. So now we're just trying to find him a second career.
I feel like that's a good number, because a horse that has, that many races under their belt, they've been in training, they've seen everything, they have trailered. Like, people, I think, kind of sometimes don't realize that these thoroughbreds have been like desensitized so much, and they think of thoroughbreds as like crazy and spooky, but like you get a lot of horses off the track and they're just like, whatever, I've seen it all before. So that's kind of nice. Is that his personality, or is he more like of a high strung, what you would think of as a thoroughbred, or more of like laid back, or how's his personality?
So Dawson's been with us since September of last year, and he's become a volunteer favorite. We like to describe him as big, bold, and beautiful. So he's 16'3", so he's definitely a big boy, and he kind of has the big personality to go along with that. He's very sweet, though. Like, he'll give you all the cuddles in the round pen after you work him, but under saddle, he's definitely going to need somebody who's a little bit more confident of a rider. He's not going to be like he's not going to be a beginner horse necessarily, but he can go in any direction. He has no limitations. He'd be a great prospect for hunters, or he's like I said, he's gorgeous. He's got 4 white feet and a big bold blaze. I think he'd really stand out in a show ring. I'm a dressage rider, and I'm like, I don't need another horse. I already have 3 from Horse and Hound. So,
yes, I'm an eventer, and he is exactly what I buy for myself, which is like a young off-track thoroughbred. They know how to gallop. They are, beautiful, and they can do all 3 phases. So
he's available.
Problem is, I live in California. We have like no turnout. It's so much harder to keep the somewhat hotter breeds here, because they have to get so much more exercise. I think with that age, and he's just so ready to like jump into any kind of training. It looks like he's had some free jumping, it looks like, in the ring.
Yes, we have free jumped him.
Awesome. Does he have like any limitations, or any, like, he's been under saddle and restarted a little bit, it sounds like?
Yes. So we've restarted him here. We obviously are going to continue to get rides on him until he gets adopted. And then he's been ridden under Western and English. Our primary trainer is English, but rides English, but he has been ridden in a Western saddle as well. So, but he's been doing great under saddle. When he first came in, obviously we had to take care of those lovely thoroughbred feet and get them nice and healthy after pulling his shoes, but he is barefoot, so that's nice as well. So you don't have to worry about keeping him, having shoes on and everything.
Yeah, I think it's those first 6 months off the track. They tend to have pretty different foot angles than what most of us would prefer, and kind of get those feet grown out. So it sounds like he's had plenty of time to kind of unwind and, get some feet and chill out and hang out and learn all about him. So you think he would be probably better for someone with a little bit of confidence, but kind of any direction, even Western. I think that sounds like he could, you know, people underestimate thoroughbreds for Western, but I think they can definitely do that.
We've had some really nice Western dressage horses come out of our rescue. I wouldn't necessarily say Barrels just because he's so big. I don't think that that's going to be like his direction, but I mean, I think he'd look good in anything. Like I said, he's just so flashy. He's gorgeous.
Yeah. And Western dressage is like growing a lot in popularity. You've got like your working equitation getting popular. You've got your ranch horse. There's like so many different things going on. And a horse like this that, you know, who knows what his perfect niche will be. But I think, you know, people definitely need to check him out. And he's just such a big, good looking horse. And some people really are set on that like super tall horse. So I think we'll get him in touch with his right person, I hope, with this podcast.
Yes. And he is cuddly too. Like he's the perfect mix of like sweet and spicy, I feel like. So.
Oh, I like that. I like that a lot. Because sometimes the spicy ones are not necessarily the friendly ones. So I think...
No, he's very friendly. He'll just come and like let you love on him. So we love that part. Oh. I think that's why he's a volunteer favorite. The ones that are like really friendly always seem to go to the top of our leaderboard.
Yeah, well, that's good. And so you guys are located in Guthrie, Oklahoma, and... can you tell us a little bit more about Horse and Hound Rescue, since it's been a while since we had you guys on? Just, you said you specialize in off-the-track thoroughbreds. Like, how many do you have? And what kind of adopter, you know, should come and talk to you guys and come look for a horse?
Yeah, of course. So we have been around for coming up on our 10 years next year, and we are getting ready to hit our 600th horse adoption. After probably by the end of this year, we'll hit that 600th mark. So we're really excited. Our horses have been adopted out from anything and everything to therapy horses, search and rescue, hunter jumpers, of course, dressage, Western pleasure. So anybody who's interested in a horse that really wants to give them the chance with a thoroughbred, as you understand, a thoroughbred adopter has to be somebody who understands that thoroughbreds are going to be a little bit more sensitive. But once you like bond with them, you have them 100%. So, and they give so much. They give their heart on the track, and they are going to give their heart to you. So we have around 30 horses right now. And we're also a senior dog sanctuary. So we have about 50 senior dogs that live their life out on our 50 acres.
And are the dogs are for adoption, or are they retired there?
So they are for adoption, but we really don't take them to adoption events or anything. Most of the people who have adopted them are like volunteers like myself, who I have adopted a dog. You can hear them in the background. And then, of course, sometimes when people adopt a horse, they fall in love with the dog, too, and they'll do a double adoption day.
Oh, man, I wish I lived closer, because that sounds like a fun place to visit. So
yes.
Anybody within 1,000 miles of Oklahoma, go down for a visit, and who knows what you'll fall in love with down there. So, yeah, it sounds like September is the episode that this will be on. So that is the perfect time to visit Oklahoma for sure. And how do people apply or find out more about Dawson? Do they need to go to the Right Horse link, or do you prefer people come through your website, or what's the best way?
So with our adoptions, you can obviously click the My Right Horse link. That's going to give you all of our horses. So if Dawson City is not your cup of tea, there's lots of other horse options there too. At our website, horseandhoundrescue.com, you can fill out our adoption application, and all of our adoption fees are $1,500.
Sounds great. Well, I mean, with horses getting more and more expensive, like crazy expensive, I feel like people aren't considering that adoption option as much as a way of finding great, sound, young horses ready to go in a direction. And $1,500 is still an absolutely amazing price, and it helps the adoption. So that, or, you know, the rescue facilities. So I think that's fantastic. Well, Allison, thank you so much for joining us. Do you want to tell us anything else about what your volunteer work is like? I just think that's so interesting that people don't usually get to hear from, you know, a volunteer and what it's like and what you can do to help a rescue. So
yes. Well, I'm very blessed in the aspect that I'm able to come volunteer at least once or twice a week. I think that whenever COVID happened, it actually kind of put me back into the focus that volunteering is really important and giving back to your community, because all of that got stopped. And it was really like hard not having an outlet to be able to give back. And so after COVID, I started really volunteering with Horse and Hound. We had adopted a horse pre-COVID and had volunteered a little bit here and there. But I think that, you know, everything happens for a reason. And even though it was a crazy time in our world, it kind of helped you reset what your focus should be. And it's just really rewarding being able to go out and see these horses come in from off the track and then going home with their new families and then continuing to get those adoption updates. I think was my favorite part.
Alison, thanks again for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Don't be shy. Show us some barn banter love by leaving a review, and you can tell all your friends too.